Entrepreneurship can be really hard. And when you're doing it by yourself, trying to navigate the terrain, it can almost be impossible. That's why we created the Entrepreneur Circle. Every episode, you're going to hear from incredible entrepreneurs who are in the same trenches that you are in. And we're going to talk through what's working, what's not working, whether it be in marketing, finance, or anything in between. We're here to talk business and figure out how each of us can rise together. So welcome to the circle. Let's dig in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Entrepreneurs Circle. I am very excited for today because I have Laura here with me from Novus Global. She's an executive coach with an extensive history and an amazing background that I think is going to be really insightful to everyone that's tuning in. So Laura, thank you so much for joining me on the show, first of all.
Oh, thank you, Paresa. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Love to get to chat with you.
Yes, likewise. I appreciate it. So I know you're an executive coach now, but maybe take us back to what you were doing before that, how you landed here, and how it's going.
Yeah, love it. So my background is generally as a corporate litigator. So I went to law school. I climbed the ladder to be at the top of my class, and I wanted to get the best job at the best firm and then, become the best associate, climb the partner track. It was, born in me from a very young age, like I think with most of us, with probably most of your audience, that the thing to do is to figure out a way to be the best at what you do, to get the A. That's how we get rewarded and that's how we get praised. And that was really how I was living my life. And so I found myself in an incredibly demanding career in big law, doing corporate trial work. While I was finding a lot of success, I was simultaneously experiencing this sense of grief that there was something I was missing, that there was something more for me in my life. And I actually remember there was a moment when I was driving home on a totally empty Los Angeles highway, and it was 2 a.m. again, and I was coming home from the office, and I had to be back in court at 7:30 the next morning. And I had this thought just cross my mind, if I was in a car accident right now, I could finally get some rest. And that moment just startled me awake. And I remember looking at myself in the rearview mirror and just being like, Laura, this is not how you want to live your one precious life. There has to be more. And that question, that small voice saying there has to be more, started me on a journey that led to changes in literally every area of my life.
That really resonates with me because I feel like so often we get sucked into our work and maybe it's not the most fulfilling work and it's draining us, but we're just in that cycle, that repetitive cycle. And until we can really slow down to hear a voice like that, it's something that we just accept and keep doing until we look back and realize that we're not happy. So good on you for hearing the voice.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that's really common. I'll talk more about it, but now I'm an executive coach and I work with a lot of people who find themselves in that same scenario where they're I'm grinding. I have all of the things that should make me feel like I've arrived. I'm up at the top of the ladder. I'm good at my job. And yet I'm somehow simultaneously overwhelmed and bored. I have so much to do and somehow I'm disconnected from my passion and purpose. I think it's an epidemic right now and it's one that I care deeply about because I've been there.
This is so important because I feel like this is kind of the American culture is grind. More equals more. The more effort I put in, the more time, the more energy, the more results I'll get, of course, right? That's how it should work.
That's right.
But it sounds like sometimes that doesn't click, especially because the world is changing so quickly. So you're an executive coach. You're going into companies and working with their high-level leaders, right?
That's right. Yes. So companies of different sizes, Fortune 500s to entrepreneurs. I have clients in different industries. I am actually a a franchise owner of a firm called Novus Global, and it's a team of executive coaches. So we pride ourselves on being a team of coaches that serves other teams, and we serve, professional athletes, artists, C-suite executives, founders, everything you can imagine, because we're really obsessed with human performance and what does it look like to upgrade human performance, and not just to be better at what you do, but to actually have greater life satisfaction, to have those moments where you go, oh wow, I didn't know I could do that. That's what makes my heart beat. That's what makes me get up in the morning, because someone, after that moment in the car when I had this experience of this is not how I want to live my life, like that moment led me to a place where I was like, okay, I don't think I can figure this out on my own. Like I've had this longing, but I'm not doing anything about it. I just wake up the next day and do the next thing in front of me that I know how to do. And so I brought someone in to disrupt me. That was an executive coach at Novus Global. And so I was like, I think I need someone to ask me the bigger questions and really hold my feet to the fire to go after those answers. And my coach said to me, what do you want that feels impossible for you to have? What do you want that in your brain somewhere you've decided it's impossible for you to have it? Our unpacking of that question and her ability to fiercely advocate for me, shout out Laura Lyng, my first coach, to fiercely advocate for me to have that picture of my life that I really wanted, that started to change everything. And then I went, oh, well, this is what I want to do. I want to stand in front of leaders and go, okay, what do you really want that feels impossible? And let's go get it. I want to advocate for that vision like no one ever has in your life before. That's what we're up to in the world.
Oh, I love that. So, okay, it sounds like you were in the receiving end of it, and then you've turned the table and now you're also helping others. So with that in mind, having been there and now helping others, what do you see as the biggest hindrance for these high-level performers? Is it a lack of clarity and understanding what they actually want? Is it a lack of believing in themselves that they could do it? Does it vary person to person? What's the most common thing you're seeing with the people that you're working with?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think, we've heard in a lot of books and talks about this idea of the 10,000 hour rule, that it takes 10,000 hours to be great at something. But no one talks about what you do with the other, 100 and some thousand hours that you continue to devote to your work after you're really great at something. So when I work with people, I assume that they're high performing people. Like the people that I'm working with, they're doing well. They're achieving a lot of the things that they always wanted to achieve, but they also know there's more. There's something deep inside. I would say, regardless of whether they are lacking clarity or lacking motivation or just getting in their own way with their limiting beliefs, there's a common thread that they have the opportunity to upgrade the questions that they're asking themselves. So instead of how can I be the best, how can I be right, we invite high performers to lift the weight of the question, I wonder what I'm capable of. And then if they're up for expanding that question, I wonder what we are capable of, and bringing in their community, their team, like what are we capable of together? And the reason I love that question is because it's actually not an answerable question. You can ask that question until the day that you die. Like it's not a pill you pop, like how can I be the best? Well, it depends on the room. Like you could probably figure out if you're the best writer, if you're the best sales, if you're the best CEO in your mastermind, you might be able to figure that out. But the question, what am I capable of, is like a weight that you lift. Like you can just you can wake up in the morning and go, ooh, I wonder what I'm capable of when it comes to my leadership. I wonder what I'm capable of when it comes to expanding my vision in the world. I wonder what I'm capable of when it comes to my impact. So I would say the common thing that leaders I meet with aren't doing is they aren't asking themselves that question yet. And then two, I would say entrepreneurs especially tend to come to me with a lot of I language. I have to, I need to, I should. And it starts to feel disempowered in a way. It's like I am bearing all of the burden and yet I don't have what I need to get the things that I want. That can be very isolating. Another thing that I work on with my clients is like, who is the we in your picture? Who is advocating for your leadership? A lot of my clients I invite into this concept of of like, who is your board? Not just the board of your company, but like your board as the founder. Who's on it? And how are they advocating for your vision and the things you want? So it might be a coach, it might be a mentor, someone who's gone before you in the same, it might be a peer in your same group. It might just be somebody that you know is really helpful at spotting your blind spots and wants to like hold on to that vision of who you want to be with you. So like upgrading your questions and then finding the we. Who is the we in your business and in your personal life?
Oh, I love that so much because it's so true. I feel like it goes beyond just the business. And so often we're compartmentalizing, this is my team at work, this is my family, and it's all separate. But I feel like more and more as time goes on, all of that is starting to become more socially acceptable to blend in a way. Like, hear me out. I feel like when I was in corporate America, I used to be at a television company before I started Noble Media. And it was very, you go to work, you are at work. We're not necessarily bringing in our own personal lives or personal interests. I think it was more of a matter of, just staying professional. And if I show these cards, maybe it would dilute that professionalism. But then now, we're in this era of authenticity with social media and people want to see the crossover and they want to see your whole self. I feel like what you're saying about having kind of a board that's personal to you, that's overseeing all of it, and the people around you that you trust to guide you on all of it, that's a fresh take. I like that. So you mentioned coaches could be on that, your family, people that kind of keep you honest. Who's on that for you? Who do you have?
Well, I have a coach. I will always have a coach. And so when we believe never hire a coach that doesn't have a coach, right? So the questions that I'm asking my clients, I am lifting for myself. I believe it's almost impossible. You can find maybe an instance in history, but it's almost impossible to do surgery on yourself, or at least it's not a good idea, right? And so trying to do surgery on your own brain, like on your own thoughts and your own mindsets, that is difficult, frustrating, and often ineffective. And so I bring somebody in to help me see the things I can't see. Like, please spot my blind spots. Please advocate for me. Please, like, hear my bullshit and call me out on it. Like, don't just let me complain to vent. When I complain, help me see the vision behind my complaint and create action to move through it. And so coach is high on my list and boards. And then like mentors are different than coaches. Mentors have often, when I work with a client, I work with, chief medical officers of hospitals. I have never been a chief medical officer, so I can't mentor them by saying, hey, I've walked the road that you're walking. Here's what I've learned along the way. So bring in someone who has been there before and can help guide you and again spot where you might get in your own way as you go forward. And then I would say like a peer who's up to what you're up to in the world, whether that's a fellow entrepreneur in your industry or outside of your industry. Who do you admire that's doing the thing that you want to do right now that could just be a voice in the mix with you, for you? I think that kind of a triad is a great mix for every entrepreneur and really every executive to have in their corner.
That's a big one. I'm taking that one with me for sure. So tell me what you would suggest. Our audience is primarily obviously business owners, right? What are some tips that people could take today and implement today to help them level up and continue to grow in whatever they're pursuing?
I would say the first thing that I invite clients to do is just notice the patterns of their thinking. I talked earlier about upgrading your questions. So how can I be right? How can I be the best? What's the next thing I have to do today? Notice the questions that are driving your behavior. There's always a question underneath. And so the first step is just noticing them and then the behavior that those questions are creating for you. What's coming out of that? And then there's the opportunity to ask yourself that upgraded question. I wonder what I'm capable of. What do I want, really? What do I really want that feels impossible for me? What's missing right now? What would it look like for me to feel fully alive in this moment? So I would invite them to notice the questions that are driving them now and then upgrade those questions and invite somebody in because, like I said, those are hard questions to lift on your own. And often when you do, when you actually spot that thing that you really want that feels impossible for you, at least this is what happened to me, what happens is we expect a rush of limiting beliefs to come in. But I can't have that because they'll never let me. I have to make sure I have food on the table. I don't have the skills that I'm not good enough to, right? So those limiting beliefs will surface, and if left alone, will keep you in the same behaviors that you've been in. Your brain wants comfort and safety more than it wants anything else. And that's great. It's doing what it should do. It's a survival need. But all of us can associate with the soul, the spirit, the gut, that other piece of you that says, I want growth and I want challenge. And like that part of you deserves an ear and an advocate as well. And so for me, it was like turning up the volume on that voice and then bringing in advocates to be on my team as I go after it.
I love that. You said sit with those limiting beliefs for a second. I would love to dig into this because those limiting beliefs come up like inevitably. And I imagine they come up no matter what level you get to, you're always going to have some level of doubt. When it comes, what should you do? Should you talk about it with somebody? Should you sit in it and feel it? What's the best way to process those beliefs to then get past them and keep them from continuing to resurface,
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would go to first notice, again, I can't emphasize enough how much we just move past something without actually taking note of it. Oh, there's that belief again. Oh, that's showing up in all these different areas in my life. Oh, that's been around for a while. So notice the belief, and then I invite your listeners to get curious. I wonder what's going on that I believe that. I wonder if I really think that's true. I wonder what the evidence is that something else is true, right? What I invite my clients to do is not judge their limiting beliefs. That's what we often, if we notice it, then we shame it. I wish I wouldn't feel this way. I wish I wasn't so hard on myself. I wish I didn't have these beliefs. What's wrong with me that I keep struggling with this limiting belief? And that shame shuts down growth. Then we just stay put. And so notice, and instead of shame, get curious. Again, there's that beautiful I wonder question. I wonder what's going on here. I wonder if I really think that. I wonder if that's getting in my way somehow. And then I love what you said about, do you bring others in? Yes. That's the we part, is what does it look like, again, to say, this is what I'm struggling with in my beliefs, and this is what I want to believe. And here are the ways that this new belief is true or might be true. And will you, advocate, coach, mentor, friend, help me see where this is also true? And even maybe, will you call me out on it when I am staying stuck because of the old belief? At Novus Global, we like to talk about how our beliefs shape our emotions, which shape our behaviors, right? So our emotions are living on a sea of beliefs is a way of thinking of that. So when I'm feeling something, I'm feeling frustrated. Why am I not growing faster? What's going on in my office that I'm getting stuck on this point? When I'm feeling frustrated, there's a belief happening underneath that. I won't be able to create the clients that I want, or I'm not as good at this as fill in the blank, right? So there's a belief there for me to explore, that if I shifted into, okay, what else is true? In what way am I good at this? In what way am I creating the life that I want? Then there's a new emotion opportunity for me there that then creates new behavior and ultimately new results.
Sounds like she just gave us the formula, you guys. That's literally a formula. I love a formula. That's amazing.
Well, and this is what a coach helps you do is surface that, because it's really hard on your own to unpack that process. But when I sit in front of a client and I believe that they are truly behaving according to how they perceive the world, they're behaving according to a belief system that's working perfectly. So there's nothing wrong. It's just examining that belief system and shifting it so that they can create the world that they want.
That's so good. And I feel like so much, you said it at the very beginning, is it came from a young age, the desire to do well and be the best at whatever I'm doing. I feel like that really is instilled in us at a young age and it trickles in. And I feel like that's really good, but it's also a double-edged sword because it could be the source of some of those limiting beliefs. Like, unless, like, I'll just tell you, I'm a open book. Like, I feel like for me, it was always education, right? So go get your master's, get your doctorate, go do your like continuing education, right? If I don't have that and there's something that I want to do, I've found that I question if I can do it because I don't have that degree or I don't have that. You know, obviously you need the training and you need to know how to do especially more technical things, but that's a very easy thing to go do, right? It's a matter of just shifting your perspective slightly. It's such a small shift in looking at the limiting belief and realizing the source of it and how you can overcome it. I feel like you nailed it when you said so often we feel it and then it's like a wall. We like walk up to it and turn around. We're like, okay. But when you can really sit with it and see where it's coming from and why, you're able to look at it a little more objectively and push past it. So I love where you're coming from.
Sit with it without judgment. As a coach, I see a large part of my job is to be like this fierce advocate for my clients, the things that my client says that they want and the person that they want to become. But also I sit in like a place of neutrality where I'm not judging what is reality, what is current and in the present. Like, I don't have any judgment for that. I just get to look at what they want and say, is this working for what you want? So your belief, I need more education to do the next thing. We can be neutral about that. Maybe that works for you sometimes. You know, maybe getting a license to have the job that you want is the next step, and that belief is creating emotion of motivation, and motivation is creating the result of you going after that education. In other moments, you might say, ooh, this belief is actually limiting me because every time I think about that, I need more education. The result is I stop going after what I want. I give up. I feel discouraged. I feel stuck. I judge myself. It's like, oh, okay. If that belief is creating these emotions, then it makes sense that the result is not getting you what you want. And so just slowing down, and again, the belief isn't right or wrong or good or bad. It's just creating something. What is it creating, and what do you want to create?
It's completely tied back to how I was raised and the culture that I come from. It's very, very, very heavy on education, right? So when I could make that distinction, it changed a lot for me. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah, me too. My parents are both educators. So I was raised in a household where there was a lot of, you know, in a positive way, but a lot of praise for, you know, getting the highest score on the test. In our young minds, this becomes a way that we know that we're loved. Right? And so there's a deeply rooted belief system there. And again, there's nothing wrong with that system until it keeps you from living that fully alive, passionate life that you want. Because something that high performers, and by the way, we at Novus Global, we talk about high performance, which is how can I be the best? That's great. That leads you to a lot of success. And then what we call meta performance is this exploration of, I wonder what I'm capable of, like that, asking that question. Meta, like, and not the metaverse, but meta, like to transform, like to change, like metamorphosis. And so like, what reinvention of myself do I want to explore as I go after what it is I am capable of? And so when you've been rewarded for a lot of high performance over your lifetime, then it feels very new to ask, what am I capable of? And the scary part is like that question comes with often experimentation, failure. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm asking what I'm capable of, then I'm probably pushing the boundaries of what I know I can do. And most of my clients like me have lived their whole lives going after the things they know they can succeed at. Some part of them says, like, I believe I can do this, and so I'm going to do it because I will get the reward of doing it well. And when they step into, I wonder what I'm capable of, now we're outside of that comfort zone in a lot of ways. And we might have to transform into somebody who's willing to make experiments and take risks and potentially fail. And that's the next level of growth and challenge. But when we don't have that, we lack that creativity and that sense of inspiration. And that moment I talked about earlier of, wow, I didn't know I can do that, which is what I long for all of my clients to have.
I read an article about how that perspective, being raised with, you have to get all A's and then getting praise for the high performance is the root cause of imposter syndrome as an adult. And it sounds like when we do as adults, if we have been raised with that deep intrinsic value of performing at a high level, and then we start asking those questions of what am I capable of, that initial feeling that one would expect, I imagine, might be a little bit of imposter syndrome. Do you find that to be true?
Yes. And I love talking about imposter syndrome. I have a keynote on imposter syndrome because it does come up so much in my conversations, especially with women, entrepreneurs or who are stepping into executive roles for the first time. I love the idea that like an imposter is someone who is fraudulent. Like when you look up the definition of imposter, it's like that you are showing up as something that you are not. And so what's a fun exploration if somebody is feeling like an imposter is like, do you have the skill, experience, trajectory, education, feedback to tell you that this role or opportunity is one you can step into and grow into and learn? And if you say, yes, I do, like I objectively do have all of those things, then you're not showing up as an imposter or a fraud, but you may be stepping into something new. And so if you have all of those things and still feel like an imposter, then let's question the belief that's going on underneath the surface there. Like, what's the limiting belief that's creating a sense of I don't belong here, or I'm a fraud? And then there's something to examine there. But I also love the other side of the coin, which is like, let's say you don't have those things. So you don't necessarily have the requisite skills and experience and background. And now you're feeling like you're an imposter and you're like, this is real. I am an imposter. and in that space, I would say, where could you like congratulate yourself on stepping into the unknown, on stepping into a space that is beyond your comfort zone? And in that way, I'm like, let's welcome the imposter. Like the people who are changing the world are constantly stepping outside of their reassurance. And they're asking themselves like, what if I tried this? What if I experiment in this area? What if I take a risk? What if I aim for the impossible? And so in that place, like a lot of the people that we look to and admire in history, we could also label them imposters with all of the data that we have about who they were and what they were trying in their life. So like question the experience that you're having about feeling like a fraud, and then also like applaud the parts of you that are doing something that takes risk and faith and courage.
I love it, Laura. So good. Okay, I'd love to pivot and hear more about you and how you've grown your company. I always ask, what is that moment or the activity or the initiative that you did that helped you start seeing momentum in your own business right now and finding clients and finding people to work with? How did you start growing your company?
Yeah, that's great. So because I'm a coach, for me, it comes back to this idea of mindset and what I was actually believing about my work before versus what I needed to believe about my work in order to start in a completely new industry. I mean, in many ways, start over and then retrain people in my life to see me not just as Laura the lawyer, but as Laura the executive coach. And talk about imposter syndrome. I had it all over the place. So I was just like, do I belong here? Can I make this shift in my life? Is everyone going to think that I am crazy? Jason Jaggard, who's the CEO and founder of Novus Global, he talks about these 4 different ways to relate to work. One is the prisoner mindset, where you feel like you have to be at work. Like, I work because I have to. I work because I'm trapped. Right? And I definitely had moments as a lawyer where I was stuck on a case that I really didn't want to be on, or the clients were demanding, and like work was prisoner mindset, like get myself out of bed, golden handcuffs, like this is the idea of the prisoner mindset. And then there was a relationship to work as like a mercenary, which is like, I work for the money. I work to play, right? I punch my clock, I get my reward, and then my real life begins. And so I meet a lot of people who are in that space. And then there's the missionary mindset, which is like, I work because of the impact. I work because I want to do something, for the world. I work to pour myself out in sacrifice. And of course, that has its own limitations and drawbacks when suddenly you feel like you're the savior or you need to meet a lot of entrepreneurs who are in missionary burnout mindset. And I've experienced that too. And then there's the athlete mindset. And this is the idea of like, I work to become something. I work to be the person I want to be. I work because it's practice. And that for me was the greatest guide for what it looked like for me to build a business from the ground up, is to wake up in the morning and say, what do I get to practice at today? Like, oh, today I get to like build my character in organization. Today I get to practice being clear and direct in my requests of other people. Today I get to practice feeling really grounded in my confidence of who I am in the world and what I bring to the world. And suddenly, like you were talking about before, the like distinction between outside of work and inside of the work starts to blur, because I'm just me showing up as a whole person in the world, and work is one component of me getting to be that person. And so I think that in my experience, like changing my relationship to work is what had the most profound impact on my work and on building my work.
I love this, Laura. I feel like I have gotten so much from this conversation, and I know our listeners have too. So I really appreciate you opening your mind, your heart, sharing all of this. Where can people connect with you?
Well, Novus.global is the Novus Global website. So novus.global. And you can do / Laura Lyng. Lyng is spelled Lyng for more information on speaking and coaching offerings that I have. We also have a best-selling book called Beyond High Performance, and I would welcome people to check that out. And I think we're going to include in the show notes some link to an assessment that they can actually take, which helps you determine what of those mindsets that I talked about, the missionary, the mercenary, the athlete, and the prisoner, like which ones you might be gravitating towards and where there might be more ability for you to grow. So if anyone is interested in taking that, they can also meet with a coach and unpack that and start their advocacy journey, bringing someone into their corner for their vision.
Love it. Thank you. I'm excited to take that, because as you were explaining the different mindsets, I'm like, ooh, I'm a little bit of that and a little bit of this. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to take
Yes, absolutely. And we float between them. And one day you could go through all four, right? So it's not a label. It's just a snapshot of a moment in time.
Huh. Good way to put it. I love it. Well, Laura, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, be sure to go follow her, connect, and we will catch you on the next episode of Entrepreneur Circle. Remember this as you go about your day today. The ideas that are on your heart for a reason. Do not ignore them. Tune into them. Tap in, lean in, understand them, and pursue them. If not you, then who? If this episode was helpful to you in any way, please like, share, comment, subscribe. It does wonders for our efforts, and it helps us to continue our mission of inspiring entrepreneurs and giving them the resources and the perspective we all need to take it to the next level. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paresa Noble, and we'll catch you next time.